What's going on, guys? Digidesdan here, and I'm here with a new tip video. And this tip video is going to be on how to more or less clean your games. Primarily focused on how to clean cartridges, so Nintendo carts, Sega carts. For this video, I'm going to be using a Nintendo 64 cartridge as an example. I'm going to be walking through some of the materials that I use and some of the processes that I use to get my games nice and clean, especially if I want to put them on the shelf and not contaminate all my other games, or if they don't work in my systems and I need them to work. I'll give this a try before anything else. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this is going to be the cart that we're using for this tip video on how to clean cartridge-based games. Whenever you're cleaning a game, you want to make sure that you're taking the right steps to prevent any sort of damage happening to your game. So some of the materials that I use are Q-tips. I'll use some isopropyl alcohol, Rosinol lighter fluid, Clorox wipes, a toothbrush if needed, and a security bit for opening up the cartridge. So these security bits you can get just online off of eBay or Amazon. I believe they're only a few bucks. They're really useful. If you look at the back of the Nintendo carts, let's see if I can't get it to focus here. Yeah, it's a star pattern, and conventional screwdrivers will not work with it. So this bit here has that same star pattern, fits right up, and you can easily undo it by hand. So just to quickly explain what some of this stuff does, the Rosinol lighter fluid you can get at Walmart. It's very useful, but it's very dangerous to use. You don't want to use it around any fire, of course. But this is used to remove stickers or adhesives, such as this $30 sticker here. Since this is somewhat more of a rare cart, I will not be using it just because the Nintendo 64 game labels are very, very fragile. Any sort of water or chemical that might get on this will most likely damage it or remove the label entirely. So I tend to avoid using any water-based cleaning products on Nintendo 64 products if I can, or at least around the label. The alcohol here is just very good for all-around cleaning. If you use it carefully, you can get most things off. You can get any adhesive, like from the sticker, off. If you look on the back, like these slight scuffs, or if there's any, gooey stuff in there, brown stuff. I don't know, like these scuffs here. The alcohol is going to take it off, and I'll use that in combination with the Q-tips. Very similarly, the Clorox wipes do a very good job if you don't have access to the alcohol. If you have some of these in your house, it's very similar. They're non-bleach. They're so far I haven't had an issue with them. Really, you just take them out and it's a wipe, and you carefully wipe down your game. If your game has like that grimy feel and you don't feel very clean after touching it, give it a quick wipe down, and the Clorox wipes will do the rest. Another useful product is the Magic Eraser, the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. That I won't use as much just because it is a micro abrasive, so it's like a micro sandpaper. So if you go a little bit crazy with it, you see how this cart kind of sheens and shines a bit in the light. If you use the Magic Eraser too much on the top, it might end up dulling it out. It actually shaves off a layer of the plastic, as well as if you use it on the label. So if you continue to use it, eventually this whole label is going to be gone, as well as this one. So you kind of want to use the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser kind of sparingly, especially if there's any Sharpie on the top here, or any other like scuffs or dirt. They're very good for getting off the first initial layer. But if you have some of those deeper pen marks or markers, I would highly recommend going over carefully with the isopropyl alcohol or the or a dry erase marker, or going over it with a dry erase marker. But I'll save that for a different video. So to get started, I will say this game does not work currently in my Nintendo 64, and that's mostly because the contacts are too dirty and corroded. So I believe that a good cleaning is actually going to help get this game working, and let's see where it takes us. So first things first, safety is always important. So I got some gloves here. When you're handling these chemicals, you want to be very careful. It could be very damaging to your skin, to your eyes, and to your games. So you always want to do it with care. So I have my security bit here. I'm just going to stick it in carefully and remove these security bit screws. And as you can see, they come out very easily. Place it in a location where you can find them and not lose them. But these come out very easily. You don't have to over tighten them when you put them back in. You shouldn't have to struggle too much to take them out, that sort of thing. They're only embedded in plastic. So this back label here is most likely not salvageable at all. There's a lot of adhesive residue here, and like I mentioned before, the Nintendo 64 labels are very fragile. If I go over this with a few times with the isopropyl alcohol or the Rosinol lighter fluid or a Clorox wipe or even just soap and water, it's going to take this label right off. So most likely, if you have something like this, the best thing to do is find a donor cart and just kind of replace the label. If you have a security bit, just take off the back and then put a new one on, or else I would just keep it like this. Okay, so let's pop this open here. So here we have the inside of a Nintendo 64 cart, and already you can see all that dirt and grime in there. A lot of the time it looks like someone may have spilled juice in there or something and it gets that dirty. But let me fix the lighting real quick. Okay. That should be better. And then on the inside of Nintendo 64 carts, they also have these Phillips screws here that you would need to unscrew to take out the cart. But right away, I'm just going to show you real quick what the power of a Clorox wipe can do. So they come in these wipes here. I'm just going to quickly go over like this part here. It is a cleaning product, and if you lightly rub on it, you're going to see that some of it's going to come off. Some of this dirty, black covered, brown covered stuff. I mean, it doesn't work like magic. You kind of have to be patient with it sometimes. Since this is the inside of the cart, I'm not too worried about it. I'm more concerned with this, this sticky stuff, the brown stuff. So already just going over it lightly, you can already see a difference on this raised edge. It's already looking like the original color of the cartridge. And if you look at the Lysol wipe or the Clorox wipe, it's going to, if you can't see that, it's going to be all, the color of the dirt and grime in there. So I'll just carefully go about, trying to get into the small crevices. It's kind of easier if you have fingernails too, or if you have longer fingernails, I should say. I'm just going to go around the edges here and catch as much as I can real quickly. And already you can see a big difference. There's less brown, there's less, orange, whatever it's called. It's less sticky. And like I mentioned, I haven't had an issue with the Clorox wipes before on plastic at all. It hasn't. There's no bleach in it, so it hasn't discolored the carts at all. Of course, if you wipe at a cart too much, it might rub off some of the plastic, and you might be able to notice it. But like I mentioned, I'm not too worried about the inside of the cart or this back portion because I'll most likely replace it. So that's the Clorox wipe. What I'll also do is take a Q-tip. You can also get the wooden ones in your local craft store. And what I'll do is I'll just, if you have a small cup of some sort, you can pour it into the cup. I just pour it into the cap. I'll dip the Q-tip in the alcohol. Just get into those harder to reach places. The alcohol on the Clorox wipe or the Lysol wipe, whichever you choose to use, is going to break down that dirt and that grime. So it makes it easier to wipe it up and get it out. Already you can see this Q-tip is just soaking up all that dirty material. So with this, you have to take out these Phillips to access the board. That's exactly what I'll be doing. I have a screwdriver here with my Phillips bit, and I will carefully remove it. Again, saving the screws, making sure I know exactly where the screws are supposed to go. And you always want to handle, your games with care, especially if it is a more rare one like this. So now that it's out, I just pull off that dust shield, and we have the board here. So the board, there's not much to it. You can pop it out, and again we see some of that brown grime in there, if I can get it right with the lighting. And then we have the board itself. Here you can see that the contacts are a bit dirty. On the other side as well. And some people like to use Brasso, and that's some sort of metal cleaner. I don't particularly like it just because it actually takes off this gold plating, and I kind of want to keep that gold plating there, because if you take off too much of it, any other environmental factors might cause it to rust or corrode or something like that. So usually what I do with these, again, take a Q-tip, dip in the isopropyl alcohol, and just gently go over the contacts. Just kind of like brushing your teeth. I sometimes also use a toothbrush. So for those contacts that have more gunk caked on, you just carefully brush the contacts, get all that dust and dirt off. Most of the time when your cartridge games don't work, it's because of any sort of dust or dirt on the contacts or in the pin connectors. So it's very important that you keep these clean. If you're inserting dirty games into your system, you run the risk of making those contacts dirty, those pins dirty, and no longer working. So just flip it to the other side. Just the same thing. Get a little bit of that alcohol on there. And just give it a good brush down. Alright, so with the contacts nice and clean, nice and shiny, with all the dust and dirt off, I'm actually going to clean the rest of the cart off camera, and then I'll put it all together and we'll see if my work worked. So what I'd like to mention about the N64 cartridges I mentioned before, the labels aren't as resilient as like Super Nintendo or NES cartridges. As you can see, it's very paper based. It's not very glossy. When you look at a Super Nintendo game, it's extremely glossy. It looks almost laminated, which it pretty much is. If you're using a Clorox wipe, and I haven't had any issue with this before, you can essentially just wipe the label, no problem. As long as you don't cake it on, it dries and it takes off any sort of gunk that's on the label. As long as you're not soaking it, it's usually okay. If you're doing that with the Nintendo 64 cartridges, or your Nintendo 64 cartridges, that water-based chemical in your Clorox wipe, or even your isopropyl alcohol, is going to take the label right off. And you're going to end up damaging your own label. So typically when I clean N64 carts, if I can, I avoid the label entirely. And if there is any sort of gunk on it, I try to avoid it just because I don't want to damage the label any further. So what I'll do is peel this off by hand. You can also use a hair dryer to heat up the adhesive and to peel it off. But I'll just carefully pull at it, lifting up most of the glue, so I have to do less cleaning. And as you can see, there's just only a tiny bit of glue left, and so I'll take the Clorox wipe and just carefully wipe it, and it does a pretty good job at taking off the adhesive. Another option is using that Q-tip and alcohol method. Wipe it dry, and as you can see, most of the adhesive is already gone. It's just a tiny bit left. Being careful not to get it on the label there. Just a little bit. Wipe it. And we have a nice, clean, shiny surface. Alright, so now that we have a relatively clean cart with clean contacts, we can give it a try and see if our method of cleaning the outside cartridge, but mostly the contacts, made this game work. Alright, so we have this game here. Plug it in. And what do we have? It works. Perfect. Alright, so thanks for joining me on this cart cleanup. And hopefully, my process, my materials, and my explanation, even though it wasn't as thorough as most other tutorials, this was more or less just showing you how I go about doing things and how I go about getting games working on my systems, on top of having them nice and spick and span for my shelf. But if you did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully I have more tip videos coming. I also have playthroughs and pickup videos. Please check those out as well. But we'll see you guys on the next one. Safety first. Ow.